You're listening to Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Join us as we explore how medical professionals can achieve stellar success in all areas of life. It's time to level up.
Hello, everybody. We're back at Stellar Success Podcast. I have a great guest today, the stem cell whisperer, Dr. Jeffrey Gross. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Dr. Gross, I want to start with a very simple question. What is success for you, and how do you see it in your life with the experience that you have right now?
Success is results. So in medicine, it's about giving the right advice to the patient and having them have benefits from that advice and coming back and telling you about it.
Awesome. Why do you do what you do right now? Do you have any motivation in the back of your mind all the time?
Yeah, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Was I a driven somewhere early along the way to want to serve others, or was it learned? I think it came very early. I think as a child, I knew I wanted to be a physician and go that route, and I've always bucked the system when the patient needs and goals were more important than some other external influence, like dare I say, health insurance or finances.
I see. Interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey so far? How did you start? What was your journey along the way, and where are you now?
Yeah, I practiced spinal surgery as a neurosurgeon I still do some. So, I'm in my 25th year of that. And about 7, 8 years ago, my patients actually get credit for encouraging me to sort of open my mind a little. And it was susceptible to being open. I'm always interested in new things. And a lot of my patients who failed non-surgical treatments and the only thing left to offer them was a surgery, many of them said, I'm just not ready for that. And I would agree with them. I said, well, great, because I really didn't want to offer it to you. It's just the only thing left on the menu. And they would say, how about this? How about that? How about lasers? How about stem cells? And I heard stem cells enough times, and I knew it was a growing field. And I had some undergraduate background in molecular biology and biochemistry. And I, chance favors the prepared mind. So I said, a lot's probably happened since I have that undergraduate training. So I went back, and instead of going to the annual spine surgery meetings where you don't really learn anything new, I started going to educational conferences and other types of training in the regenerative medicine stem cell field in order to offer that to my spine patients. Well, it's blossomed into way more than I could imagine. And now it's not only for people with neck and back problems, but I treat all kinds of things now.
Very interesting. This is definitely a new field in medicine, and I think a lot of patients are coming to learn a lot more because of the results that are out there in studies and in clinical practice. But I want to kind of review with you for the audience a little bit about what stem cell therapy is and what it is based on. So just a little bit of context, I would say, if you can give us.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Stem cell medicine is a technique. It's a strategy to take advantage of what we have learned from our own natural biology. The set of healthy young cells that create a baby and then help a child grow and then help an adult maintain, repair, and heal, that loses steam when in an aging individual and in someone who's been exposed to a lot of pro-inflammatory forces. So if we can hack into that system and use it to our advantage, that's regenerative medicine, aka stem cell medicine. And it comes in different forms. It may be platelet-rich plasma called PRP. It may be stem cells themselves, whether they come from your own body or from a donor, a young donor, maybe a mother who has just had a baby by C-section, and she donates her umbilical cord and or amniotic fluid, for example, and or also donations of stem cell signaling factors called extracellular vesicles or exosomes. Those are some of the more available things, but there are many things being looked at beyond that are coming soon.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's a field that definitely will grow over time, and we'll be able to treat more patients with different diseases that we cannot even imagine right now. And it's funny to me that we go back to the beginning of life right?
Yeah.
And we start treating later diseases in life with what started life.
Right.
It's a very interesting concept, and I'm very excited about this whole therapy approach. But giving the discussion a little bit about yourself and your medical practice, since you started this new journey in stem cell therapy, what was the business approach to it, other than taking care of the patients every day? How did you structure your mindset first and then your practice to apply those principles as a business principle?
Well, I had the advantage of having an existing practice in spine surgery, so I already had the infrastructure in place. But
Mhm.
the mindset was this is new, different, exciting, and the results. And by results, I mean very good medical literature, most of which is from other countries, because we are behind in the U.S. on this. Is there, and that's called evidence-based medicine. And if the evidence supports what we're doing, and we can easily adapt our existing practice. The mindset was this should be great. I have a new tool to offer people. Yes, there will be roadblocks, and there were, and there are, and we try to hurdle those as best we can. But that's the mindset, and really, it's not just the mindset; it's the application, because it's how we were able to do this and continue to grow the regenerative side of the practice. It wasn't a goal initially; it was just an add-on tool, but now it's so much more rewarding.
Interesting. Um, so you basically gave up, not gave up, but you put the surgical side of your practice on hold or on the side to develop this particular side of it, right? With stem cell therapies. Um, from the business point of view, did it take any adjustments, any restructuring to accommodate those kind of treatments?
Sure, of course. I mean, we have different office equipment. We had to change sort of the look and feel of things, create a new branding, a new name, a new branding, even though it's the same location and the same people in the office and the same computers and telephones and things like that. I'm sure we did, and it's been a blessing to be able to de-emphasize the surgical practice, because that was the goal all along. As in surgical training, you learn how to do surgery. When you go into practice, you learn how not to do it, right? But it should be the last option unless there's some kind of emergency. So although I've always practiced that way, now I can practice that way even amplified.
Interesting. Yes, I totally agree with that. From the development, the personal development point of view for yourself, once you took on this challenge, I would say, how did you become the way you are right now? Did you have develop any skills, any habits, any routines that change your approach to think differently and kind of go out of your comfort zone and think outside the box and take on this particular therapy for your patients?
Well, I think that you have to be a little bit crazy to be a neurosurgeon in the first place. So we're a little strange breed. And I am, of course, a self-admitted nerd. So I did have to dig back into a lot of science and literature, but that's a blessing because I enjoy that. So I still am reading new and different literature every day that I would not have been had I not taken this on. So that's one thing. Secondly, I approach how I address the model of the practice and the patients differently. I'm looking more holistically at patients. I'm talking to them about nutrition and diet and sleep and things that I really didn't have to really focus on in my prior life, you know. And now the beauty is when someone comes to me with a neck or back problem, as they would have for decades, I now have much more to add to the discussion. That's not just the spine. We can add in all these holistic lifestyle choices and new strategies and things to do to help support anything we might do for the spine so that it can heal faster, better, and properly.
Yeah, this is very important. And I actually wanted to reach this point of speaking about nutrition, health, and exercise. What do you particularly do in your life, in your personal life, to reach those goals and be an example for your patients?
Well, I have really taken on strategic eating habits. I'm a very big time restricted eater. Some people call that intermittent feeding or intermittent fasting. That's something I can do easily, so that I'm committed to that, and I have the commitment there. Um, I try to be more strategic about exercise, where you can work to failure with weightlifting and more high intensity, which you can do in a shorter time interval, so it's not as burdening. I also have been very good about my supplements. Supplements are a little bit like religion. Sometimes we take them, we don't feel different, but just in case, we better pray. So I have my own little baggies I make every day, and I'll make sure I have all the types of nutrients that I probably don't get in my regular diet. And then I also try to get really good sleep hygiene. So deep sleep, restorative sleep, enough time of sleep. And because you could sleep 8 hours, but if you're not really resting and deep sleep and dreaming, and you're probably not sleeping adequately. So that took some doing. So those are easy things to do. You're going to sleep anyway. You might as well sleep well. So those are small tweaks. I suppose I could do better on the exercise end of it more regularly, and flexibility. I do believe in flexibility. There are some wonderful studies that demonstrate that a good yoga practice on a regular basis can help release your own stem cells to your circulation. So I've been trying to do some of that.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think at least in the past few years, I've heard a lot of people in the clinical world talking about the power of a good sleep, right, and how to improve that, and what would bring to your health if you have a good sleep. And also what you mentioned, the fact that intermittent fasting is one of the components to help you kind of detoxify your body and get in a better status. But I want to see how you deal with you mentioned before that United States is a little bit behind in this type of therapies. I'm assuming it's from the regulatory point of view, or the legality or whatever aspect they want to say. But did you encounter any issues with applying those type of therapies to your patients from the legal point of view, from the insurance point of view, from the reimbursement aspect?
Well, if I can handle those separately. So from the legal compliance side, we're super transparent and careful and compliant to make sure that our informed consent does not make any claims, because the FDA has not yet approved PRP, regenerative medicine, stem cells, anything for marketing claims. So we don't do that. We cannot advertise on Google. We cannot advertise on Facebook because they won't let us. So we're very, very upfront about the FDA status and what that means, because there's a big myth surrounding it. And we're very upfront about every aspect of what we're offering as an option or alternative to a surgery or something else. As to the reimbursement, because some of the biologics now, the stem cell derived exosomes are half the price of stem cells, we're able to get the prices of the procedures down into a decent range that might match with what you would pay for a deductible or a copay for a knee replacement. So I think we're in the right realm, because oddly, insurance, and I'm going to say insurance in finger quotes, because health insurance shouldn't get to use that word insurance, because they really don't cover much, or they cover whatever they say they want to cover. So that really doesn't define insurance. So those companies seek to profit off taking in premiums and not paying out in care. So they don't cover these procedures and techniques because they're not yet approved for marketing claims. However, that has recently switched, and many health insurers are covering platelet-rich plasma, for example, PRP, which is not yet approved for marketing claims. So they're starting to buck the system, because they figured out, the bean counters and accountants have figured out, that PRP is less expensive than a surgery. So I think there is a move afoot to find more acceptance at least on the economic side of coverage for some of these modalities.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think the United States has to catch up on this aspect with this new therapies compared to other countries in the world. But I totally agree with you. I think healthcare system in general needs to be reformed to accept those kind of new therapies, not only based on whatever government official says, but like you said, evidence-based medicine and results. Now, being successful and taking your example in your professional career, I want to see what it comes to mind when you talk about the successful enterprise in your career. Can you give us an example of a success that you experienced? And also, I want to see anything that kind of didn't pan out for you, one of the so-called failures that you learned from.
Hmm. Well, I mean, we have failures every day in medicine, right? We try something and it doesn't work on someone, but I don't think you're asking me about individual patients. You're asking me about the business in general.
Yes.
And listen, I've hired people that the personalities don't work out, or I've tried to work with colleagues that really turned out not to be colleagues. I mean, I've always been disappointed in really the lack of collegiality in the workplace. It's so it doesn't need to be competitive. This is healthcare. We should all be helping, together, helping people. So I think that, that's been once. I'd say my biggest failure in 2005 or six, I opened a very big multidisciplinary spine practice and bit off way more than I could chew financially, and spent 10 years just working to pay for the lease. So that went south. And it did end up, working out in the end, but not without great hardship. But I think the best success in my last decade is simply being lean. There's so many online resources and these remote employees, even in other countries, and services that can handle that. Now we use a phone system and video system that's all online. We don't even pay the phone company. So I think learning to adapt to the technology and being lean. I can tell you this: when I first got out of my training in 1999, I was told the average support team for a surgeon was 2.3 people. That means you need 2.3 employees per surgeon to manage that practice, whether it's front staff, back staff, nurses, whatever. And I was involved in some groups early on that had more than that per surgeon. And it was because you had to hire people just to get insurance authorization. It was this adding these cogs in the machine that didn't serve anyone but the insurance company. So I cut all those out. I either outsourced them or worked around them somehow, and didn't have that ridiculousness. That's probably the best success in the long term.
Yes, I agree with you. I think the practice of medicine nowadays, it's so much harder than patient care. And I think people that have an office practice like yourself and a big following would gladly give up the intricacies of running the practice and
Yeah.
just see patients, because it became to a point that and I experienced this in my practice too. It's dealing with the insurance companies and all this like minute details that you need to go through to care for a patient is exhausting. um, yeah, it's interesting that I heard this a lot of times from many people that in general people consider failures financial failures in most of the time. And there is a lot of talk for physicians in general who get burned out, or they want to retire, or they don't want to practice anymore. What are the other sources of income that they can rely on, like passive income sources? How do you see this subject? Did you think about that? Did you plan for it? Do you have any?
Well, I didn't plan enough for it, and after going through a very expensive divorce, I planned just enough to give it to someone.
That's what happens, right?
Divorces are very expensive because they're worth it. So, in any event, after that little advertisement there, no, I mean we could always plan better for it, and you got to go with the long term. I'm no expert, but long term assets like real estate, things like that. Yeah, and you got to keep doing it, and be diligent about it. And I think the real goal here is if you can take your physician who can earn a decent living, and take that revenue and invest it, then you can always have a decent living, right? Even when you stop being a physician and retire, that's the goal, is to leverage the one into a passive one.
Yeah. What would be your best passive income stream source if you would have to choose?
Oh, it would have been some real estate that I was involved with before parting with it.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, a lot of people don't consider this because of they're afraid of investing in real estate, and they would rather just put the money in stock market and let other people take care of it, financial advisor, or even, the market itself. It goes up and goes down.
Yeah.
We have no control about it, and we pray that at the end of our career in retirement, that thing is bigger than we put in. But I've seen so many people that got burned with this approach, and I think there's nothing. This shouldn't even be considered a passive income stream from stock market. It's less than anything passive. It's almost a brainless approach, I would say, because there's no control, there's no due diligence, and like you said, probably one of the best investments you can do. It's try to get into real estate, into businesses, even practices like yourself that can reward you at the end. What's in your mind right now? What projects are you excited about? How do you see your future years from now on, from the professional point of view?
Well, I mean, I'm very busy with the regenerative medicine practice, but we have some projects that we really want to help bring to the US, and those are taking some very select component of these stem cell signaling factors called exosomes. Some of them derive from immune cells that are known to identify and selectively kill cancer cells. So you can imagine the potential there for helping people with different types of cancer, and that would be, I would sleep really well at night if we can help some people there. So that's a project I'm actively trying to get off the ground here.
Very nice. If you would start over, would you change anything in your approach to this particular therapy that you're doing right now? If you would advise yourself, many years ago?
I would have started this much earlier. I jumped into it 7, 8 years ago, and I look back and said, wow, a lot has happened. Look at all this great treatment. There are so many people I could have helped, in a different way, perhaps. So I would have done it earlier. The first time someone mentioned it, I would have probably dug into it a bit, and, been doing it longer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, in all the good things that we're doing, either professionally or investing, I think that the main theme is that we should have started much earlier than we did.
That too.
All the time. It's not early enough, and I've heard this so many times. Either in setting up a practice or a new therapy or even investing, everybody says the same thing. But we postpone for some reason, and we think we have more time than we have.
True.
Yes. Any nugget of advice to someone who would like to start something like this right now?
Yeah, why haven't you? I just said to myself, I mean, just start with some homework, just read some papers on the topic. You'd be surprised. Most of those papers will come from Asia and Europe, and that's okay. That's evidence-based as well, because the funding for those studies here is suppressed, so you won't find them in the US. Plus, who wants to be on the placebo side of that? So it's a hard study to do, right? But it's easy homework. Find a national course or class to go to and start to meet colleagues, and you'll learn more from the colleagues than you will from anyone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think networking in this field is very important. From your experience so far, what would you say is the most impressive progress in any kind of disease that you've seen with this therapy?
Well, osteoarthritis, aka joint degeneration or spine degeneration, is the low-hanging fruit. We get the best results, the quickest results. It's easy to do, and if you can help someone move again who's in a lot of pain, that person can exercise. If you exercise, you're supporting your muscle mass and your bone density, both of which are known to be correlates with longevity. So if you want to live longer and healthier, you got to keep your joints healthy. So we have seen some remarkable results, and we have before and after MRIs that'll knock your socks off, where we see regeneration of cartilage in the knee and saving people from having a knee replacement surgery, perhaps. And there's wonderful longitudinal follow-up studies out of France, published over 15-year follow-up on these with similar results. So we're just following that protocol.
Yes, that's great. If someone wants to know more about what you're doing and this type of therapy, how they can get in touch with you? What should they follow? What should they ask?
I love to meet new people, so reach out. Our new company name is Recelebrate, because you're celebrating the renewal of your cells. So that's RECELLEBRATE. And that's the name of our website. It's our Instagram, it's our LinkedIn, it's our Facebook, it's our Pinterest, it's our YouTube. Just type in Recelebrate, you'll find us.
Very nice. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope this will go far.
Thank you.
And I hope, you're going to have plenty of success that you can maybe teach someone else to do it and spread the word in a country. I appreciate your time, and maybe we'll circle back maybe in a few months or a year and see how you're doing.
I'd love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's a wrap on Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Interested in joining us? Go to stellarsuccesspodcast.com/guest to apply. Stay stellar and level up.